is up? I'm Rick, the Fat Man GM. You may or may have not have heard of me babbling and rambling on a few of the YouTube channels and Facebook channels regarding to our hobby, role-playing games in general, tabletop games, wargaming, so on and so forth. I have started back when I was in my early teens. I have well over 40 years worth of experience in this hobby that we love and share. And a big part of what I like to do is go back and revisit a lot of the stuff that I have and have accumulated in my gaming career, if you will. And everything from MERP, Starfleet, from FASA, a slew of Dungeons and Dragons and Shadowrun, Star Wars, etc., etc., etc. And I revisit these items individually, and hopefully to give some nostalgia for myself, to give you a little bit of an insight into some game system that you may or may not have heard of or may have not had the opportunity to play, and to remind those of us out there that do have them that these are quite viable and still entertaining today. So here we go. Alright, my friends, as you can see, this is the Treasures of Middle-earth. It's a compendium of magical items from Iron Crown Enterprises, ICE. Little, I don't want tell my wife to give me. So we talk about here, it says, treasures from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings for use within the Middle-earth role-playing game, MERP. Also can be used in Rolemaster and other major fantasy role-playing games. And I like this sort of thing because I have utilized this in many D&D campaigns over the years as well, because there's a lot of good stuff in here. It's just another treasure book, right, of all kinds of magic items and better items and masterworks and what have you. And it's not difficult to modify the D100 system to a D20 system that is used in D&D. So from this one here, we got our introduction, abbreviations, definition, terminology. Here's our stat bonus chart. So in this case, if an item says it has a plus 25 defensive bonus using the D100 system, we would divide that by 5. So it has, in a D20 system, it would be a plus 5 item. And it would require an 18 stat or what have you. And anyway, converting spells and spell lists, converting combat abilities, everything you need here in this page, these two pages, to convert it to use in pretty much any game system, any fantasy game system that you choose to operate. So we have items, arms, so we have all kinds of weapons. Beautiful thing about this particular book is too, it came out late in the MERP series, and so everything that's come before it had this, that, or the other thing. And whenever it does, it'll say, look here. So in this case, a Jellin, a sword from Gondolin, the lost maid of Orcus and Glambrine. This weapon is sheathed and hidden in a crack in the cavern of the lesser drake Korgon, the red of the mountains of the southern Agmar. Its scabbard is blue boarskin, etc., etc. Its powers would be a plus 6 offensive bonus, a plus 6 weapon, burns the blue light, presence of evil, contains a spirit dedicated to the destruction of evil, so it's an intelligent sword. A sword of lightning, it delivers an electrical strike with each normal critical. So every time it hits a crit, it delivers a blast of lightning. And then it tells us to look under Iron Crown Enterprises, Agmar 13. So I'm guessing it's page 13 in Agmar. Here's Andril or Undril, the Flame of the West. This is Aragon II's blade forged from the pieces of the sword that was broken in the shards of Narsil. We all know the stats, right? So if we go by the powers, this is a potent weapon. In D&D standards, it would be the equivalent of a plus 10 holy blade. Flames on command. When flaming, Andril can burn hot with the red flame, delivering extra heat criticals of slaying orcs, or it can burn cold with a white flame, delivering extra cold criticals, as well as becoming slaying of undead. Well, it's too bad we didn't see that sort of stuff in the movies, but it is. I don't remember it ever coming up as a flaming sword in the stories either, in the novels either, but you get the idea. So we got loads of this sort of stuff. Some things that your people would never be able to handle, and some things that are quite familiar from the backs of the or the treasure guides that you got in D&D these days, backs of the GM manuals, back, because you go back far enough, they added extra. So I don't want to call them splat books because I don't like that term, but extra source books and things like that. Narzel, a different one. The Iron Skull, possessed for many years by Skarkanak as Kazabrazum. Skull forming the striking surface of the mace was looted from the ruins of Badur and mounted on a long spiked staff of superior orc forged steel. Eye sockets, the massive humanoid, but not human, skull blazes with rubies. That's pretty potent. This would be +2 enchanted, inflicts 2 times the hits. The bearer receives a +4 defensive bonus and a +4 spell adder. It can store as many as 3 channeling spells up to 10th level each. Eyes are so up to 2nd level each. Eyes can be willed by the user to power projection or project a firebolt twice a day. The eyes fire together. The ray combines to form one double damage firebolt. In its present form, the engram requires a 96 plus strength to wield melee. So basically, if you divide that 96, you would end up with something like 18, an 18 strength to use it properly. Steward's blades. Oh, there's Sting. Everybody knows Sting. Made in Belleran the First Age, a well-forged elf dagger was named by Bilbo Baggins, his first owner, after its discovery in a troll lair. Bilbo gave it to Frodo at the farewell feast when blah blah blah. Is the equivalent of a +3 short sword. Glows with it blue within 1,000 feet of an orc. Most brightly, and they should probably define that as orcs and goblins, because we saw it do it the same thing with the goblins, and there's always been a debate for Middle Earth whether or not goblins and orcs are the same critters. Pretty obvious to me they're not, but there's still that argument. Most brightly if they're within 100 feet, lightly if they're further away, and barely if further out. Of slaying versus orcs. Troll Cleaver, Basamil, Angbar, the Iron Fist, Gauntlet of fine steel mesh overlapping plates. Item can be adjusted to fit the hands from dwarf to orc size. Powers allow the wearer's fist to have the effect of a +10 mace. In this case, it would be a +2 mace if you're going by the D&D modifier. Does not aid or impede him or her when using other weapons. Right? Just all kinds of nifty things and stuff, and it just adds to the repertoire of material as a GM that you have to hand out to as loot to your players. All right, good stuff. The Elven Cloak, Eagle Mask. When worn, it doubles the range of a wearer's vision and allows the wearer to use any one of the following spells once per day from Rollmaster, Animal Mastery, Animal Tongues, Nature's Ways, Outdoor Trap Detection, and Nature's Protection. Hues from Merp, Animal Mastery, Animal Tongues, Nature's Lore, Trap Detection, Nature's Guise, Hues. Once put on, the mask cannot be removed and the wearer's night vision is impaired. This 20th level curse would be a 20th level, would be a 4th level curse, be resisted and removed, but only one attempt may be made prior to the advancement of the wearer. So put it on at your own risk. It's gives you some advantages, but you really kind of I don't know, depends on your personality, I guess. You might find that thing welcome and not necessarily see it as a curse. The Arkenstone, Cook's Helper. The silver collar is set with a small amethyst, is worn close to the throat, much like a choker. It has a +50 poison resistant roll, and it'd be +10 poison resistant roll for D&D. See Iron Crown Enterprises, Mouths of the Intwash on page 37. Big things, little things, powerful things, interesting things, odd and strange things. Monkey bracelets. Yeah. The file of Gladriel. This is that little glowing glass and silver doohickey that Gladriel gave to Frodo. The light, your light. They give you light in the most darkest places when all other lights go out. Magic items, books. Here's one, the Book of Keels. Ancient book kept in the vault in the castle of Linderlanth and Loth. This is a waterproof volume bound in blue leon and written in sheets of gold with tarnished black silver characters stitched together with slightly worn silk. The tome holds many secrets in shipbuilding handed down from the shipwrights of Numenor to the shipbuilder of Umber and the other haven. This would be an inestimable value, but few will believe that such a book exists unless shown in person. Powers none. It is in Iron Crown Enterprises Brigands of Mirkwood on page 30. Wiener spell books, that would be one powerful thing for a would-be wizard. Old words and names of the Shire. Orange book. Runes of Glamour. We got foods, elixirs, and Endrots. Information on different. Here's the fruit draught that the Ents make. That'd be very hard to get your hands on. Scrying devices, orbs of seeing, the Palantir. And these are discussed over and over and over again in a number of different source books. The Watching Stone, staves and wands. Gandalf's staff. This staff is long, thin, and smartly polished. It's gnarled set wood with a small crystal globe. The globe is held tightly to the tip by gold prongs. It's a ×9 PowerPoint enhancer, so it would give you ×2 plus 30 defense bonus, and that would give you a +6 defense bonus, plus 30 to all spell rolls, which would be a +6. Globe glows in any brightness or color, up to Rollmaster's light, law beacon, or utter light, 300 feet range, or MERP's sound and light waves, protected light or other light at a metal command. See Ice, Rangers of the North, page 36. Weapons, musical instruments, strange musical instrument, right? Just kind of carried over. Weeping flute. Orb of Song, rings, the rings of power, all this thing, a lot of stuff on this, which comes up in other places too. Lesser rings, pearl ring, ring of Bahir, ring of blood mastery, ring of iron magic, ring of merging. We got tools and trappings, deck of tricks. Silver table. Finrod's drawing table is a beautifully slanted surface of silver leon with niches and wells for tools that go with it. The powers is a +50 math and architecture maneuver, so it would be a +10. And we got the talk of the creators. This back section talks about crafting and creating things in different groups within Middle-earth. So how the Valor would do things, the Mayor, the Istari, which are basically the Mayor, the Fruheeples, the Dwarves, the Elves and Men, the Orcs, Smiths, works of power, armor, Elves, jewel smithing, tools and techniques, smelting, Ents, Hobbits, Men, the great enemies of Morgoth, Sauron, demons, i.e. Balrogs, Nazgul, orcs. And we got a small section on materials, another one herbs, plants, Panaceas, P-A-N-A-C-E-A-S, whatever, and poisons. One of the interesting material in MERP is Leon or Lane, L-A-E-N, called long thread. The name refers to incredibly long crystal lattice structure, allowing for the strength of the material. Of course, this does not explain a bizarre property of Leon. It gains strength and rigidity with heat. The hotter, the stronger these things get, which means you can't forge them in heat. Only by chilling with the temperatures beyond cold can it be softened, and then it is sculpted and molded into the desired form. Natural Leon is a black or smoky, but it can also be cleared with treatments and tinted in any number of transparent colors. So it's a glass, right? And there's a process in Moria. There's a little section in the back called a utter cold forging or cold forge or something, and there's a special type of tree that grows only in the high places of the Misty Mountains, apparently, and other rare locations. And you basically, somehow or another, you're supposed to log these things, and you turn them into small logs, and you drop the log into the forge, and it cracks open, releasing an extreme burst of cold. And it's through that process that these extremely exotic weapons and material are crafted. And if you think about it for a moment, if you could, it'd be hideously expensive, almost as bad as mithril, if not on par with it. You could create a weapon and armor that would be very resistant to heat, so you could potentially have something that a dragon can't melt with its flame, something you could attack a dragon with. Just a thought. Although totally encasing yourself in Leon would have its own issues, I'm sure, and I don't think you would be successful at attacking a small gun straightforward. I'm just saying, right? So various plants and stuff and their properties that can be found in Middle Earth. Always like these things because once again I can utilize these in other game systems, and have and do and will continue to do so. Alright, so stone are generating treasures. Just a little side note on the subject of rolling for loot, rolling for treasure. I've known some GMs, and some really good GMs, that literally verbatim take what the GM guide says about rolling treasure based on the experience level of whatever the encounter was. And in some aspects, that's hideously huge amounts of loot, gold, weapons, items, what have you. And then they just, this is where you get this concept of one of the ways we get the concept of the Monty Hall scenario, where we are going to basically just keep rolling. And in one case, this friend of mine, he was rolling up some treasure, and I forget what it was, the group we'd defeated, and he come back the next session with this 3-page list of stuff, and among that was something like 200 plus 1 rings of protection. And I kind of go, what? Oh man, there's like 15 plus 3 swords here. Really? Well, I just followed the instructions. I said, I follow the rules. And I says, first off, common sense says, no! Hey, it's great for us, but no! We don't do that! Think about it for a minute. So, when I tried to, and this is my opinion and my take on these things, my techniques, understandings of how to roll things like treasure. At the end of the day, it's a volume. So if you look up the value of a single ring of protection, it might be several thousand gold pieces. Might be 500 gold pieces, don't know. But let's say the total loot factor should be, I don't know, 300,000 gold pieces in value. Alright, so if you go by the list, it breaks it down percentage wise, this much in coin, this much in this item, this much in weapons, etc., etc. You break it down, but then you go and look at the stuff up, and you add it together. If I give them a +3 set of dragon mail that's got some magical enhancement, the dragon mail by itself might be worth 20 or 30,000 gold pieces. There's a big chunk of that 300,000. And then if 20% of that's supposed to be, actual coinage of varying value and gemstones of varying value, well, there's another 60,000 or so. So now we've taken a big bite out of that 300,000, and you work your way through it that way. So you should never have 200 rings of something or 20 wands of fireballs. I mean, that's beyond absurd, right? That's one of the reasons it takes a little kind of read through what things are saying and crunch it with some sense. The other thing about it was that you have to take it into perspective, right? It's often stated in the older versions of D&D where it talks about the treasure factor of a given encounter, a foe. So if this obelisk has a potential 10 to 20,000 gold piece treasure hoard, right? And you encounter the critter outside in the wilderness, outside its lair, it's not lugging any of that stuff with it. The odds are maybe a few things have clung to its hide, or it ate something. Although I wouldn't want to cut open a obelisk if that, I'm just saying. But, right? So common sense says that all this stuff's not there. Another thing that kind of always bothers me a little bit about treasure and loot and things like that is the habit of collecting things and not utilizing them. So if we look briefly at the encounter between Bilbo and the dwarves and the three trolls, and Gandalf's help, Bilbo and Gandalf were able to eliminate the trolls, and then they locate the lair and they loot the lair, and they find a reasonable amount of loot and some magic weapons. Right now, why didn't the trolls use those swords? Granted, in their hands they would have been much better than a knife, but they still could have utilized them. So if I look at things from a perspective, if I've got a small orc tribe, and they have a handful of things that they've acquired from would-be adventurers, and they're going to try to utilize them. If they're swords, they're weapons. So they would carry those, but they would also use them against the players in their scenario. And possibility that if one or two of the orcs run away, it may be carrying some of that valuable stuff with them. Coinage and stuff. Well, I imagine they can use that to some degree in the economy of among orcs as trade items, and if you have an orc or a half orc and part of your tribe, you could sneak into some towns and villages to make purchases, or make purchases from less reputable farm people in the surroundings, to get stuff that you would like to have for yourself or for your tribe. I'm just saying. But the idea of having a 300,000 gold piece hoard full of buku stuff, let alone something like 30 million, which is what he had figured, because we defeated several really big nasties, and we were in the mid to high levels, which in theory he didn't handle them well, because we really shouldn't have rolled over the top of these things the way we did. And God bless him and his style. He tries. He really tries, and I got no problem with that. But sometimes his method is just to keep throwing things. Oh, well, it says this. I'm going to give you 3 times that many. And I have different views on that too. But I think I'll save those for another video. And like I said, just keep it in mind when you're looking at rating your treasure size and your wealth. The rules are fairly straightforward, but they can be misinterpreted, or exuberantly so. Just saying. Here's your Rollmaster spell list table. Treasures of Middle Earth. A nice, nifty, handy thing to keep on your shelf.